Hi YouTube, hello, welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me, my name is Anastasia. I'm an international student from Russia studying at the Dyson School of Business at Cornell University, and I'm wrapping up my first year here, and I have some things to talk about that I don't really know who I can talk to about, and I want to kind of put it out there just for people who are thinking about going to Cornell or any other Ivy League or top 20 school in the US, because I believe that this is a more widespread issue than, it might seem to many people. But yeah, this is gonna be a less traditional video on my channel. Usually I make like fun vlogs on the campus. Today is more of like a rant about Cornell and about the Ivy League education system, because I believe that there are some problems that need to be fixed, and I'm unsatisfied. At least today I had a weird experience and I felt like talking about it to somebody, so I turned to you guys. What I'm going to be talking about is how the Ivy League education in the US is just completely not what I thought it would be. So let me give you a little preface to myself and my life. So I moved to the US 9 months ago when I actually started studying at Cornell. So this is a completely new system for me. I wasn't aware with the GPA system. I wasn't aware of the fact that there would be grades here, letter grades, so A, B, C, D, E. I was always used to percentile grades and stuff like that, and I was just not unfamiliar with how the American education system worked. And I've spoken to many international students, and they do resonate with this completely, that this is a very unfamiliar system. But that's not the main point of what I'm talking about. So I used to go to a private high school back at home. It was a British high school, and I'm a person that is a very high achiever, and I overly focus on my academic potential, and I see that as a clear reflection of who I am, and that becomes only more prevalent as you go to college. But in high school, I would always reduce the meaning of myself to the grades that I received. So if I received less than a 92 on a test, that I was failing the class and that I wasn't doing good enough and I had to overstep and do more, study more. And that essentially created very unhealthy habits in my life. I would always push myself to my boundaries in a bad way, not in a good way, not in a way that motivated me or pushed me to, further succeed in different things. So whenever I would get a weird grade on a test, I'd define my life around it and make it seem like, oh, this was such a big deal. And people would tell me oh, when you go to college, it's going to be completely different. C's get degrees, and you're not going to have to put as much effort into getting as good grades. So I was always told, and I saw in people's YouTube videos, that as long as you pass the class, it's okay, you're going to get a job, you're going to be fine. But coming here, I don't know if it's because of the school's prestige or just because this is how the US system is made, but that is completely untrue, and that your grades matter a lot more than people tell you they do. So of course, coming here, I realized after a year that one minute score on one test doesn't make that big of a difference. But your grades matter so much more than people say. And that kind of really annoys me, because I feel like I've been lied to. And I feel like coming here, there's been so many things that have let me down over the past, over my journey here. And I really want to talk about it. So yeah, that is my preface. And I'm just going to increase the lighting in this room. Okay, that's a lot better. Perfect. So let me give you guys a little rundown of my time at Cornell. So coming into Cornell, I'm just a freshman. I didn't know anything. I didn't know how classes worked, how I was supposed to prepare for exams, what the right study methods for me were, how to talk to teachers. So I was basically a newbie at everything, a rookie. I really didn't know what I was doing. So the first 2 months, I was looking around the classroom, I was looking at how other people were doing, and I felt like everybody was doing the same as I was. Everybody was struggling in the same classes. Nobody really had it figured out then, and that's totally fine. That's quite normal, actually, in your freshman year, your first few classes. You don't really know what you're doing. Around the end of the fall semester, I started noticing that people were really getting around and they were really figuring out how school works here because they had been used to that before. But honestly, it's not about what you're used to, it's about how college is different. So even if you do come from the American system, it's still a big shock. And of course, going into Cornell, I knew there was going to be so many smart people around. Everybody's going to be like a high achiever, and I've seen that to be so true. But I think I underestimated just how intense it would be to be a student here, because you always feel like everybody's doing better than you somehow. And even like kids you don't think are that like smart, they're doing better than you, and that makes you feel so weird and makes you question everything. Like, who am I? Am I doing things right? Why am I even here? So that's something that was really weird. So moving back to my story, when we were wrapping up the semester, I noticed that people were getting like significantly better grades than me on tests. So they were figuring it out, and yeah, I felt like, it's just probably my thing. But I realized that not only did I come with much less knowledge than everybody else, but that the knowledge system here, the classes here, were just throwing you in and not holding your hand at all, not kind of giving you any guidance. They were just kind of assuming you would understand things from the first try. And not only does this system just not work for international students, I think it doesn't work at all, I think. So yeah, wrapping up the semester, I thought that getting an 85 in the class was doing good. I thought because in high school that was a fine grade. That meant you were doing good. But translating like an 85% grade to a letter grade, that would be like a B or like a B minus. I'm not too sure. So when I figured out that an 85 is actually a really not good grade, because when you get your GPA, it's basically like perhaps you take 5 courses and you get like B plus, A minus, something like that. And that sums to a really low GPA, I realized. So first of all, grade deflation at Cornell, crazy and terrible, and not only at Cornell, at many Ivy League and top 20 schools. So that was a shock, definitely. So I thought like 85%, imagine 85% of the material, that's pretty decent, I would say. And then you see it in a GPA scale, and apparently you're failing the class and you're doing everything wrong. So that was so weird to find out. So when I saw my GPA report, I was like, wow, I must be doing something really, really wrong. So I was just talking to people, and I saw people getting like really good GPAs, and I'm like, okay, so I must be really silly then, and like I'm just not getting the material. And that's honestly something that I just didn't think that was true. I was led to believe that, but I knew I was smart. I knew I'm smart. I know I'm smart, and I know that grade doesn't define myself. So I learned that through high school, that grades on a paper don't define me. But in college, you kind of get lost in all of that because everybody holds some sort of standard, and if you're under that standard, you feel like you're failing. You feel like you're like insanely behind. And that feeling and those thoughts in my head were only strengthened when I was going through club recruitment the following semester. So in the beginning of the spring semester, in the beginning of any of the semesters is when club recruitment starts. And if you're familiar with club recruitment at like a school that has a really competitive business school and just in general has like a club environment, then you know that it is a really stressful process for any kind of student, because clubs reduce your value to just words and numbers on a paper, and they can reject you before even meeting you and getting to know who you are. And I've always had a good resume and good experiences, which is why I was able to get through those rounds. But when I saw how, like from the inside, how clubs choose people to go to round 1 or not is based on their grades. And I wasn't familiar with that. So when I was on the other side, so on the side of my club, choosing whether a person would get selected for round 1 or not, I saw that they would get dropped mainly just because they had a grade that was less than what the club was used to. And in my opinion, that grade wasn't even bad at all. So seeing as though these people, most of the people applying to clubs are freshmen, are they supposed to have it all figured out? So in other words, I wasn't aware that it was like a common consensus that as a freshman, you're supposed to have this kind of GPA. And if you're lower than that, that means you're doing badly and you don't get to even like recruit for a club. And I know clubs are not that important. I've had that being told by everybody. But when you're out of school like Cornell, you start to not believe that at all, because everybody's in a club. I mean, speaking from a person who's in a few clubs, but I can see that everybody's in a club. And how is it fair that just because you didn't have it fully figured out first semester as a freshman that you just get dropped? So as you can see, these kinds of events and just narratives kind of build up this weird insecurity in me that like, oh, I have to be doing so much better than this. That leads me to my next point. So this comparison between you and other people, as you do that in your head, you figure out that you have to be doing much better academically, because apparently that has so much more effect on who you are as a person. That means you'll be getting better job offers, you're going to be like let into clubs. So you can see that that is a very big deciding factor. So it's not that you just have to pass a class, it's that you have to get an A or higher in that class to be successful, which is really hard and really weird, let me add. So what leads me to my next point is that the pressure to do good here is insane. And that pressure leads you to use alternative methods to succeed. And by that I mean mainly AI, which it's so normalized in a school like Cornell and any school. I've seen many people do it. And I feel like most of the student body, no matter your major at all or what you're studying, people now depend so much on AI that they are forgetting what it's like to study on their own. And this is not because AI is just available. It's because the education system here has put so much pressure on us to perform well and perform like better than everybody else that we just naturally divert to those kinds of sources. And it's sad because every time I use AI, I feel like I'm diverting. I feel like I'm losing the plot and I'm not using my actual brain, which is what I came here to do. And the fact that classes here at an Ivy League institution, I have to repeat, these classes make me feel like I'm not learning anything is particularly concerning. Is that like international kids like me, we pay like over $80,000 to go here, and not only do a lot of the professors just not teach well, is that the grades that you earn, they have so much of an effect on you that you feel like you have to use AI, because everybody's using AI, so why don't I use AI too? Because that creates a question like, so if I'm not using AI, that means I have less access to like premium resources. So if a student similar to me uses AI to like enhance their essay, they're probably gonna have a better essay than me. And I just I'm at a disadvantage because I don't use AI. But when I do use AI, I feel guilty and I feel like I'm not using my brain to the fullest. This is something that is so disappointing to me. And it is something that I don't know how I'm going to deal with, and I don't really have anybody to talk to about. So yeah, that is kind of the rant I wanted to give today. There's obviously so many more things I could say. Like, the teachers should be better if a school is like this. Like, we have to have less pressure put on us to succeed at such an early stage. Because if you're a business student, or pretty much anything close to that, you know that recruitment starts your sophomore year. So your freshman year, you think before going to college that, oh, my freshman year is just for me to figure out stuff and, just figure out how college works. But in fact, that's completely not true. Because apparently you have to succeed, you have to be better than everybody else in your freshman year, and you have to figure out how to do that in the limited time that you have here. Because the second sophomore year starts, you're gonna have to have it all figured out, and you're gonna have to have a certain GPA, because if you don't, then like major firms will just slam a door in your face. Not even all major firms, just most firms will just slam a door in your face and say you're not good enough, just because you didn't have it figured out freshman year. Yeah, so I think that's the main disappointment I have with the Ivy League education system right now, which I feel like we're losing the point, and I feel like this is just not what it's supposed to be like, and there's supposed to be more academia going on. Like, we're supposed to go to school with the goal of learning and not the goal of getting a good grade for a good GPA to get into a good firm. So my main question is like, what is Ivy League education at this point? And I realize I might be biased. So I have talked to many of my like STEM friends, and I do think they're learning a lot more than me, because my major is more of like less technical stuff, more practical stuff. I just disagree that the practical stuff is essentially really useful and the teaching is going very well here. That is my main concern. I don't know if it's particular to me, my major, or my background being an international student, but I hope some people watching this video can resonate with me and just pick up on the theme that I'm bringing up here. Yeah, I just hope this gets better and I figure out a way to solve this. And meanwhile, I'm going to keep trying to make fun vlogs for you guys and not get even more disappointed. But yeah, I just wanted to say in the end that like, I'm really grateful to be here, and obviously the school has like led me to so many great opportunities, so many great people, and it has been a great place for me to kickstart my career journey and my education journey. Obviously it's not going to be perfect, I know that, and I'm just excited to see where it goes, and I hope that these bumps on the road are going to get figured out. But for now, I think I'm allowed to have a little bit of dissatisfaction with the process and just raise the concern and be open about it. So yeah, I hope you guys like this video, and if you resonate with this format, just tell me in the comments and I'll try to be more honest on this channel, be more open, and have more like sit down talking videos. So yeah, that is all I had for you guys today, and thanks so much for watching this video. Bye.